Henry Caldwell from Barons Creek Beef Jerky here in Warren County, out in the Moores College area. Is that correct, Henry?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Now, you might need to get a little closer to your microphone.
Okay.
Swing that over a little bit more so everybody can hear good. Well, tell us a little about yourself, Henry. Personal life. You're probably like me. You were born in a hospital because your mother was there and you wanted to be close to her. Is that correct?
That's pretty much it. I was born in Smithville.
Okay.
Been in the Morris College community all my life. Attended school at Dibble Elementary.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I went to Dibble too back in the back before they started. Back in the dinosaur time, I guess it was when I was there.
It's always a good little community school, and enjoyed it there.
Oh, yeah.
Then graduated from Warren County High School.
What year did you graduate, Henry?
Back in 87.
87, okay.
Yes. Then from there, went on to college at Tennessee Technological University.
Okay.
Graduated with a master's from there in business administration.
Okay.
And then went into several different jobs after that.
Like all of us. I don't think anybody ever starts out in what they end up doing.
Well, you never really know what your dream job is until you don't know if you ever really get that dream job you always wanted. Some people may, but it just, some things just sort of seem to fall in there.
Yeah, I've never been able to find anybody that would pay me to eat pecan pie. That would be a dream job for me.
If you did get that dream job, the doctor would probably tell you stay out of the pie.
Exactly. Well, what were some of the jobs that you had, Henry?
Well, I worked for Great Western Bag Company for a good while.
Oh, nursery supply business.
Southwestern Nursery Supply.
Okay.
Worked for them for about a year. That was after I got out of college, back in high school and things. I worked for Herman and Danny Roller.
Okay.
Good way to educate people.
Know them well. Danny and I were in the same class.
Yeah.
In high school.
Herman was always a worker. That was for sure. Danny might not have been as much so, but anyway, it was an education experience in itself.
Right. And you were mainly just working on the nursery end of the business or the cattle end of the business? Working
in the nursery.
Okay.
They had cattle at the time, but that was before they branched off into it more so.
Okay.
Like everybody else around, they had cattle and raised cattle all their lives.
Yeah.
But they had the nursery stock too, and that's what most of the industry was at that time around here.
Exactly. Now, when you worked with Great Western, did you work in sales? Were you in the warehouse?
I was actually one of their delivery drivers.
Delivery drivers, okay.
I delivered a lot up into the Carolinas and areas up in there that we really don't think of as being nursery areas here in Warren County, but there's several of them up there.
There's a lot. You go to the trade shows and you find out, a lot of people, because Warren County is quote unquote the nursery capital of the world. There are a lot of people that think nurseries don't exist anywhere else, but they're all over the place. Not in the concentration that they are here in Warren County, but
a lot of it up there was Christmas tree farms, and they've got nursery stock growing on hillsides we wouldn't even think of planting around here.
Absolutely. That's all they've got, and you can't really do anything else with it unless you got goats.
Yeah, it's some areas is beautiful country to see, but always good to be back home in McMinnville when you got through.
Right. There's a difference between rolling and just too dang steep to do anything with.
Exactly. And to me, it just looked too steep to do anything with, but they managed to.
Yeah. And so after the rollers, where did you wind up going?
Well, I ended up working at McDonald's for a while, spent about 5 years there.
Okay, here in McMinnville?
Well, I actually worked in the Woodbury store.
Okay.
And then from there, went to Cherokee Manufacturing in Smithville.
Okay.
Then I spent about 5 years there, I think. Worked at Moog Automotive in Smithville for about 7 years. That was actually right after Great Western. that I worked there, and then went to McDonald's after leaving there, and then went to Cherokee after all that.
And finally got your fill of factory work.
I got my fill of factory work and things, and
Now, Henry, are you married?
I am married.
Tell us about your family.
I've been married since 1996 to my wife, Kathy Caldwell. She is from the Smithville area. We have 2 children, Heather and Patrick. Both of them live in Smithville now.
Okay.
Neither one of them are married. Heather went to college at UT Knoxville, graduated from there with a degree in food science and technology.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully one day she'll be set to take over the business.
Well, good.
If that's what she wants to do. But
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
My kids, none of them are around here close. I've got one in Morrison, but he works at Walmart. But we're going to go ahead and close right now for just a minute, take a commercial break, and we'll be back in a few minutes with Henry Caldwell from Barons Creek Beef Jerky. This is Tim Hitchcock with Hey Hitchcock. We'll be back. Go ahead. Okay. We're back. This is Tim Hitchcock with Hey Hitchcock. I'm here with Henry Caldwell of Barons Creek Beef Jerky. We were talking a little bit about his background and his family. When did you decide that you wanted to get? What led you up to getting in the beef jerky business?
Well, it was kind of an accident. Gentleman I worked with brought in deer jerky to work one night, and we sit there and ate on it till we were so tired of eating jerky.
You about foundered, probably.
Exactly. And got to thinking, well, deer season's not every day, and don't have deer, so we went and bought some beef that weekend, and we got it sliced up, marinated, and had to go borrow a dehydrator from my sister. And from there, it's just sort of escalated.
Well, now, I was born and raised here in Warren County, and I was 17 years old. I was a freshman at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, before I ate my first beef jerky. I had heard of it, seeing on Westerns and, stuff like that, movies and TV shows, but I'd never actually eaten beef jerky until I was 17 years old. And, it's just, I used to eat it until my teeth were so sore.
Yeah.
I had to eat soup for about 3 days till got over the soreness.
That's just sort of me. It was too expensive to buy in stores. Well, beef's not that expensive really, so
right.
Let's try it and see.
Well, I actually started making beef jerky myself back in about 1977, just in the kitchen with a couple of dehydrators. And like I told you before, all of my 5 children actually teethed on beef jerky. I'd give them a big old piece of beef jerky, and they'd chew on it and then hand me a wet pulp of meat after they got finished with got all the marinade out of it.
Once they get the flavor out of it, they as bad to spit it out. My kids were the same way.
Exactly.
What's that strange blob in the floor there? And, you go pick it up. It's wet. Well, that's jerky they've chewed up.
Yep, it's not a hairball from the cat. It's beef jerky.
Yeah,
So tell me about your first batch. Was it as good as you thought it was going to be? Or?
Well, the first batch turned out, it was jerky, but we had some fat dogs there for a while.
Probably like my first batch.
We've had it everything from half raw to burnt to a crisp, and some stuff that the dog would leave laying on the porch for several days before he decided, well, I've got to eat this, I guess.
My wife, she loved it right after we marinated it. When we put it in the dehydrator, once it got really good and warm, but it was still just limp as could be. But she loved it. I would make a tray just for her, so she wouldn't be pulling out each tray looking for a piece and folding it over and everything.
And my wife never has really been a big fan of jerky and things, so couldn't use her as a guinea pig for whether this tastes good or not. So,
Right.
yeah, we've always had to find friends, and if you've got jerky, generally it's not hard to find a friend that's willing to sample it for you.
If you've got jerky, you've got friends. It's like I had an uncle, bless his heart. He was alcoholic, and my father was trying to talk to him about drinking too much, and he said one time, I still remember him saying, says, "When I've got money, I've got friends," and when you've got beef jerky, you've got friends.
Yeah.
Well, keep going with how you got started.
And it's sort of by accident. We finally found a couple of flavors and marinades that worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
Had people at work that would, hey, make me some of this.
Yep.
I'll pay you for it. Make me some of this.
Yep.
So we started, I guess, bootlegging jerky there for a bit.
Exactly.
Done that for probably about 10 years. Before we ever even thought about having inspection or anything and becoming legal on it.
Right.
But
now, to my understanding, you said before becoming legal, you were legal at the time, weren't you? Because you were selling directly to the consumer. It couldn't be sold through a third party, through a store or something.
There's kind of a loophole there, that the retail exemption, but the retail exemption only covers single ingredient products.
Oh, is that right?
So that would eliminate the jerky being legal to sell directly to individuals.
So I was illegal all those years.
But
how far can they go back? What's the statute of limitations? I may need to be worried.
Well,
maybe we need to cancel this show. No, I'm teasing. Go ahead.
As far as I know, unless somebody actually reported it to the state or whatever,
right?
There really weren't any repercussions for it.
Okay.
There had been a massive recall of jerky. Somebody got sick and died. They might have started looking for it. But majority of the people, were feeding the jerky to their family. They were going to try to make sure it's done.
Yeah.
And it just, it escalated to a point where we decided that, this might ought to be a business sometime.
Right.
And I was in between jobs.
Yeah.
I thought, well, let's start looking into USDA a little harder, and it ended up we were going to have to build a facility. I thought, well, I'm off work. I've got time. I can do a little bit of construction. Had another friend that was really good with construction that he helped us get the building and facility up and under roof, and then from there we just continued to build it on out to the point where we're at today.
Now, what size? Now when I got out of the dairy business in 1995, I think it was, I actually thought about making beef jerky commercially, but then I found out how much inspection was involved, and I just didn't want to. I'd had enough with dairy inspectors when I was in the dairy business to have people in, all the time. So that just shot me out of ever being any competition for you. What year did you actually build your building and get started commercially?
We built the building in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
We went under USDA inspection in December of that year. We really didn't have any idea what USDA inspection would entail completely until it actually hit.
Yeah.
And, we discovered somewhere after we started construction that, hey, we've got to have this building or an office for the inspector.
Yeah.
That was an afterthought. We didn't, so we had to construct an additional building besides what we had for the inspector. They couldn't use our office, so we had to build them one separate. You need to have a certain flow pattern for the jerky. You need to bring the raw meat in this way. You need to take the finished meat out that way. We had to redesign what we had under roof,
right,
and things. Come back in, add a couple more walls, and different things.
How big was your original facility?
Our original facility was 24 by 30.
24 by 30.
My dad was involved in it a little bit. He said, well, let's just get one of these Mennonite buildings.
Yeah.
and do it in that.
Yeah.
Well, the USDA inspector shot that down real quick
Okay.
before we even got going. Said that's not big enough.
Yeah.
So we finally decided on a 24 by 30. Had to split it into. We've got 6 rooms in the building that we use.
6 rooms in a 24 by 30. That's what, 700 square feet?
760, I think it was,
Seven-
796. It's
Okay.
not a lot of space.
Yeah.
At that time, it was huge to us.
Yeah.
but,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, now today that we've been in it for 20 plus years, it's like there's no room here.
Yeah.
There's no room here. Wished we'd built bigger, but
There was. I've mentioned this on the show before. I had a ag economics professor that told me, he says, when you're involved in agriculture, if you're building a building, think of the biggest building you would possibly ever need in your wildest imagination. Double the size of it, and in 5 years you'll be wishing you'd built it even bigger.
yes, we looked into doing custom slaughter there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever Corona hit, and we looked into that, but you know, at that time you couldn't find help,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and you know,
Looking
I was
for the
old
perfect
enough
spot
at
to
that time
unwind?
that
Discover
I
the
just
well
really
at
didn't want to do
3
that
Sips.
much
Sip on
work
expertly
by
crafted
myself.
cocktails, savor fine
understand.
wines, or enjoy zero
You know,
proof sips. There's
people
something for
talking,
everyone.
do it under
Mondays, 2 for 1
USDA.
beers. Wednesdays, wind down with
Once
50%
you've
off
done
any bottle of wine.
USDA,
And on
with
Thursdays,
one
get
thing
$2 off
you
any
really
well-made
don't
libation
want
and
to
delicious bar
bite
bites.
off
Experience the
anymore
elegant
with
atmosphere and let their
Right.
knowledgeable
Just, you know,
bartenders mix up your next favorite
people
drink.
think
The well at
you'll
Tree
see the
City, where
inspector
every
once a
pour
year,
tells a
twice a
story.
year.
Cheers to
Oh,
great nights.
No,
Visit the
we
well at
see
Tree City.
them
Must
daily.
be 21 or older.
See
Please
them
drink
daily.
responsibly.
Monday
At
through
Redmond's
Friday.
Carpet, they offer a wide
When they
range
assigned us a
of flooring
facility
options
number,
to suit your needs.
they
Whether
also
you prefer
assigned
the
us
softness
hours of
carpet,
operation.
the durability of hardwood,
We
the
can work
versatility
Monday
of
through
tile,
Friday,
or the
7
affordability
a.m. to
of vinyl.
3:30
We've got you covered. We also
p.m.
offer luxury in vinyl plank, LVP.
it's a federal
for those who want the
holiday,
look of hardwood
we
with added
cannot
durability. Serving McMinnville since
Really?
Unless
1969.
you're willing to pay the
Redmond's Carpet,
overtime
2512
inspector.
Old
To the
Nashville
inspector.
Highway. Call them
Wow.
at 931
I had
668
no idea on
4900
that.
for your next flooring option.
I-
Redmond's Carpet.
I
At
knew it wouldn't
Pioneer
be
Building
once a year, but
Supply,
I thought
we're
maybe
your
once a week.
one-stop shop for
Every
lumber,
day.
tools, and
we will
building
see
supplies.
them at some
Whether you're
point in
tackling a
time
major
during the
renovation
day
or just need a
if
few
we're going to
materials
be
for a small
operating
project, we've got
under
you covered.
USDA
From framing to
inspection.
finishing
And they
touches,
set your
we have
hours
the
of
products and
operation.
expertise
These are
to
the
help
hours
you
that
get
you
the
can
job done right.
operate.
Stop by and see
So
us
the
today at
inspector knows he
231
can
Northgate
pop in
Drive,
anytime
Suite
and
250,
get out.
McMinnville.
Yes.
Or give us a
No
call at
idea.
931
Boy, I'm glad I
473
didn't get into the
7777.
Well,
Our friendly, knowledgeable team
when we
is
started,
always
it was a
ready to
little
help you
different
with whatever you
critter
need for
than
your
what
next
it is
project.
today.
For
It's
50
just,
years,
you know,
Pioneer Building
things have
Supply has been
changed.
the
You've got
trusted name
new
in construction
outbreaks of E.
materials. We've built
coli.
our
Every new
reputation on
outbreak of
quality,
E.
service,
coli
and the
and
commitment to
recall,
your success.
or
Pioneer Building
salmonella,
Supply,
or
building
any
your
of
dreams
that, the
since
listeria, any of those
1975.
things. It may be California where it hits, but it affects local as much as it does in California. The inspector will be on
Considering
top
that
of
new Ford
everything,
vehicle? Now is
making
the
sure
time. Don't delay. And
food
at
is
Rogers
safe
Valley Ford,
for
save
consumption.
now with the Ford Employee Pricing Sales Event. Before
Hey,
the
Henry,
tariffs
we need
hit,
to,
swing by and take a
take
test
another
drive
commercial
this
break.
week. And
We
Rogers
will
has a
be
full
right back
lineup of
and talk
inventory.
about,
What's your favorite? Mustangs, a Ford Bronco,
Good
and
question.
Rogers Valley Ford
All
can
right.
put you
This is
inside
Tim
your new
Hitchcock
Ford
with Hey, Hey,
F-150,
Hitchcock,
Ford
here with our
Mavericks,
guest,
in stock
Henry
and ready
Caldwell
for
from
your
Barron Street
garage.
Beef
Now
Jerky.
is the best time to
We'll be
buy
back.
with Ford Employee Pricing. Well, Cumberland with that friendly
Okay, this is
hometown
Tim
feel.
Hitchcock back with Hey Hey Hitchcock here with Henry Caldwell from Barron's Creek Beef Jerky. Really enjoying finding out about the all the things that are entailed in commercial beef jerky making. We were talking about inspectors. I had USDA inspectors, well, state Tennessee Department of Agriculture inspectors when I was in the dairy business, but never did have USDA, and that's amazing that they set your hours of operation, and you have to build a separate office for them, and all that kind of stuff.
It ended up being a learning experience for
I
sure
bet.
in all this.
And you went into this without knowing any
oh,
of that.
we went in all gung ho. We were ready to do this, and then, after a couple of meetings with the inspector and them telling us what was required, what we had to do. This changed the construction of the facility a little more, and well, you need to do this, and they never would actually say you need to do this. They would ask you, how are you going to do this?
Yeah.
And then you had to figure out what they were wanting done from just the questions they were asking.
Yeah. It would be too easy for them to just say, do this, this, and this.
Well, if they come in and told you something, you could hang them out to dry because, hey, this is what you told me to do.
Okay.
And they're not going to be pinpointed
Okay.
in that way. Any way they can, they'll avoid that.
Yeah.
But if you put it down, we had to write a HACCP program telling how we would make the product safely and things that could go wrong. Even if there's a remote possibility of something going wrong, you had to list it in the program. You had to list ways you would combat that to keep it from occurring.
Right.
And, it just, you better be thinking of the unexpected because that's what they're thinking of. Something that might not occur but once in 100 years.
Yep.
You've got to address how to fix that.
Now, back during COVID, okay, were you still in full production during COVID or partial production, or did you shut down, or what?
Whenever COVID hit, the price of beef went through the roof.
Yep.
And I told myself I would not make jerky.
When you join Durham
when
School
it reached a
Services,
certain
you'll embark on a
price
rewarding
a
journey,
pound,
developing connections with
$4
students
a
as part
pound.
of a
I said,
community
no, I'm
that
not
feels
gonna do
like
it.
family. You'll have flexible
Well,
hours,
after
competitive
COVID,
pay, and a career
come
that has a
back
positive impact on the
price of beef
well-being
was
and
right
future
there
of
at
students.
$4 a
Durham
pound.
School Services has immediate opportunities
We
for
went
school
ahead
bus
and
drivers.
made a
Want
few
more
batches,
information?
and it's
Text
gradually
jobs to
crept up over the
63552
years
or
since
visit
then.
careers.nellc.com.
Right now we're paying $5
It's
a
all
pound
about
for
the journey,
beef.
theirs and yours.
Now, where do you
Why don't you head over to Chicken Chef
We're
and enjoy a
currently
fresh,
getting it
made-to-order
from
meal, or
Sam's
choose
Club.
from the all-time
Okay.
favorite
That's
like the
one of
chicken
the
nugget dinner. Stop in for
easiest
breakfast, order right
places
off
to
the menu
get it.
with sausage, gravy,
And
fresh
probably
homemade biscuits, or try
best
their delicious
quality
tenderloin,
for the
egg, and
price.
cheese biscuit, just
Now,
to name a few.
back when
Whatever your
I
taste
was,
buds call for, you're sure to find it at
first
Chicken
when I was
Chef.
doing it, I
They've been
was
serving
milking
Warren
cows.
and surrounding
And I'd take
counties
the
for over
whole
40
cow
years.
and have the
Stop
whole
in today,
cow
Chicken Chef
sliced
on the
up
Strip in
in
McMinnville.
beef
You can call
jerky.
your order in to
Yeah.
go at 473-5020.
Since then, I would catch
This is Chris at Reddick Brown Ford in
bottom
Morrison.
round
We
roast,
believe car buying should
right,
be simple.
on sale,
No gimmicks, no
and,
pressure. Just the largest selection of
Kroger
new Ford cars,
whoever,
trucks,
most
and
of the time I
SUVs at the
could
best
get them to
prices.
slice
Our
it
team
for
puts
me
you first,
at the
making sure
sale
your
price.
experience is easy,
Yours,
fast, and
you have to do
stress-free.
your own
Come see why
slicing
more
or does
drivers are
Sam's Club
choosing
slice
Reddick
it
Brown
for
Ford.
We have
Because
to
when
do
the
our own
customer comes
slicing.
first, everything
We
else
buy
falls
just
into
whole
place.
roast.
Visit us
We
today
buy a
or
box
check
of
us out
beef,
online.
which will be a case of
ReddickBrownFord.com
beef,
for car buying
generally
is simple.
averaging between 70 and 90 pounds.
Tennessee
And we
summers
bring
are
it
the
in,
best. Grilling, chilling,
trim
and streaming.
fat
Nobody
off
offers
of it,
synchronous multi-gig fiber
and
internet speed and the ability
slice
to
it up
expand your Wi-Fi coverage
thickness we
area
like
like
to
Bedlam
use,
Connect. Plus,
and
PLC is offering our
marinate it.
customers a chance to win a free
Let it
$300
marinate
value
generally
Weber grill or one
overnight,
of 9 free internet monthly
and
bill credits.
then
All you have to
the
do is send a
dehydrators
picture
we're
of your
currently
family
using
grilling,
will
chilling, and
cook a
streaming
batch
to
in
marketing
about 5 hours.
finlandlawyer.org,
5
along with your
hours.
name,
So
address,
it's,
and phone number by August 31st. Not a
somebody
customer,
says,
don't
how long
delay,
does it
and
take
call
to
your
make
local
jerky?
VLC
Well,
office today.
you know,
Some exclusions may
all
apply.
the trimming and marinating and
yeah.
Don't lose
time
your
that
cool.
you're
Call
actually
Black's
working
Heating and
on
Air
it
for a
might not be
pre-season
but a
check and
couple
service
hours,
on your
but
central air conditioning system.
you've
It can
got the
increase
5
the
hours
life and
weighed in there,
dependability
you've
of your
got the
unit
marinating
while reducing
time
the
in
chances
there.
of a very sticky
It just-
situation.
It is a little time consuming.
Get that air conditioner checked now.
My
This is Benny
dehydrators
Black,
for
and this is Seth Black with Black's Heating Air. Call today,
they
931-668-0785.
Benny's slogan at Black's Heating and Air is, once you've had black, you won't go back.
Now, there's certain
Mention this
cuts
ad
of-
and you can get a
certain
discount.
cuts of meat that you use, or you just
Make the
get
places you
whatever
care
get a
about
good
more
deal.
comfortable and energy efficient
I
with
prefer
TVA
to
Energy
use the
Right. It
Eye
all starts at
Round
EnergyRight.com,
myself.
where you
It's
can find everything
easier,
you need to lower your
smaller to
energy
handle,
usage for your home or
easier
your
to
business.
trim
Contact
and
Caney
things.
Fork
We've
Electric
used it
Energy
so
Advisors
long
Dale
that,
or Chris at
we know where all the
931-473-3116.
intricate
Or go
cuts
to
of it are.
EnergyRight.com
It's-
to start living
it's
and
a
working more
relatively
energy
easy one to
efficiently.
use.
Caney Fork Electric,
We'll
along with
use the bottom round
EnergyRight.com
on
for all your
occasion.
energy needs.
It's
Brought
a
to you
little
by
harder
Caney
to
Fork Electric
slice.
Cooperative and TVA.
We'll little more difficult.
That's why I had them slices.
It's all an interesting learning experience. When we first started, we'd slice it one way. It looks
rock
pretty.
solid insurance
This is
coverage or
tough.
sound
Can't eat it.
financial planning for my family's future. Douglas and Lanier is where I choose to call home.
Call Douglas and Lanier, your local Erie agents, at 811 Faulkner Springs Road,
Yeah, and
Beckmanville,
you know,
at 931
that was a whole learning curve for me because I had no
0044.
experience in meat
Father's Day,
processing of
4-day
any
sale at
sort.
WDG Warehouse
And,
Discount Groceries,
you know, that
Thursday through Sunday.
wasn't really a
Pork, spare
family
ribs, $1.80
business
a
that
pound. Oscar
we
Mayer
were
bacon,
involved in. You know, we'd
$4.99
raised
each.
beef, but
Mayfield
we never did
novelties, ice
kill
cream
them
sandwiches,
ourselves.
2 for
Right.
$5.
You know,
Kingsford or
that was a
Batch
whole
Light,
job in and of
$14.99.
itself.
Warehouse Discount
And
Groceries serving McMinnville and
you
Warren
learn
County,
things as
all
you
on
go,
Father's
and
Day for these
you
great
learn you
Father's
don't
Day
slice it
specials.
this
Go
way,
down and
you
see them
slice it
over on
this
Smithville
way.
Highway, WDG Warehouse Discount Groceries.
Whenever you figure that out, that's half the
Considering
battle.
a new Ford vehicle? Now is the time. Don't delay. And at Rogers
Grew
Valley
from there.
Ford,
Different
save now
marinades
with
that
the
we
Ford
tried, some
Employee
would be
Pricing
better.
Sales Event before the
Some-
tariffs hit. Swing
Well,
by
you
and
don't
take a
wanna do
test
that
drive
again.
this
Yeah.
week.
Had-
And Rogers has a
we had
full
some
lineup
folks
of
that were friends
inventory.
of ours.
What's your favorite?
We love
Mustangs,
jerky,
a
but
Ford Bronco, at Rogers
high
Valley
blood
Ford
pressure
can
and
put
heart
you inside
disease.
your new
Right.
Ford
We can't eat
F-150
that. That's
Ford
too much
Maverick in
sodium.
stock and ready for your garage. Now
Want
is the
jerky,
best
though,
time
you've
to
got to
buy
have the
with Ford
sodium, 'cause
employee pricing. Plus, buy
these
now
batches we
before
tried
the
without the
tariffs
sodium
begin.
or lower
Every vehicle
sodium, they
is
just didn't
tariff-free
turn out.
with Ford Motor Company
Right.
employee pricing. You don't
had
want to
dog
wait any
food.
longer.
Yeah.
See the Ford of
Now,
your choice this
if I'm
week and take
remembering
a
when
test
I
drive.
was
111
talking
Auto
to
Lane, Sparta, just off Highway
inspectors
111.
USDA,
Or see the current
there's a
in-stock inventory
terminology,
at
a term called
RogersValleyFord.com.
water
Save
Water
now on the
activity.
new car,
Would you
truck, or
explain
SUV
That
you need
is the
before
available
tariffs.
when
From
you're
at Rogers Valley
using
Ford, 30
meat or
years
cooking
serving the
meat.
Upper Cumberland with
That
that
is the
friendly
water
hometown
that would
feel.
be available for a
Spencer's
microbe
Talk
to
Radio,
grow.
97.7 FM and
To be
960
considered
AM,
jerky and to be safe.
WBMC.
I believe it's like 0.75 that it has to be below. We're generally running ours in the 0.5 to 0.6 range
Okay.
to make sure it's safe. Other standards of identity of jerky, it's got to be moisture protein ratio of 0.75 to 1. When we went in, we didn't think anything about it. And water activity wasn't even something they really considered at that time as a big issue. But, and to get to the water activity, it's not necessarily being dry. It's different things will absorb the water or take up the available water. And one of those is the marinades and the salt.
Okay.
Salt and sugar will both do that.
Okay. Yeah, I one time I found in a gym bag some jerky I'd made and put it in a plastic bag, and I was going to eat it on the way back from playing basketball and forgot about it. And about 2 years later, got the gym bag out, found the jerky, no mold or anything on it. My wife said it was crazy, but I ate it and it tasted fine, and I'm still here. I didn't die. So
Well, I had a car accident one time, and we'd had a bag of jerky that somehow or another ended up under a seat after the accident. Oh, where did this come from? Started looking. Well, this is about 2 year old. It's not molded or anything. Let's see how it tastes.
right.
It was edible, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been something you'd want to eat every day.
Yeah, mine was edible. It kind of tasted like dirty gym socks, but
Yeah.
it was still
It just the flavor wasn't there that it was when it was fresh.
right. But didn't kill me, and that if it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger, makes me sick. One.
The best time to eat the jerky is when you're unloading the dehydrator and it's
yeah.
still warm.
Oh yeah.
That's the best time to get it.
Yeah. My kids were, they were just like I say, that they teased on it and then they ate it, their whole lives. And I would catch them in there, getting the piece out about an hour before it was really ready, but they would still go for it. Henry, our time is going really fast. We need to take our final commercial break, and we'll be back. This is Tim Hitchcock with Hey Hitchcock. We're here with Henry Caldwell from Barron's Creek Beef Jerky in Moores College, just outside of Deverell. We'll be back. Welcome back. This is Tim Hitchcock with Hey Hitchcock. We're here with Henry Caldwell of Barron's Creek Beef Jerky. Really having a good time talking about beef jerky and the intricacies of making it on a commercial basis. We were talking about water activity and a lot of things that I'd never heard of really before. So does each batch have to go through testing on the water activity and these ratios you were talking about as far as protein and all that?
No, we mentioned the HACCP program a little bit earlier.
Okay.
That is our recipe for how we are going to make it and do the batch the same way as the previous batch and the batch before. So we're under a quarterly sampling regimen currently.
Okay.
We'll have to send product off once a quarter to make sure that we're still at the water activity level that it's supposed to be. The moisture protein ratio is still correct, and to make sure that we've not got an instance of E. coli or listeria or things, any of those. If you hear that with a small business, it's over.
Yeah.
And things.
Yeah.
The outbreak that they had with some deli meat last summer, it's pretty much decimated that business.
Yeah.
And it's goals you don't want to have that
right
occur in your facility.
Yeah, a big multinational corporation with their fingers in everything,
yes,
can kind of weather a storm on something like that. But when I listen in the morning a show where they talk about recalls. Somebody was recalling 1,500,000 of something. I mean, how does a business weather that? How do you accomplish that? If they, recalled every bit of beef jerky that you put out within the last 2 weeks.
We're nowhere near that type of volume. We probably won't do 1 million pounds volume in our entire lifetime.
How much do you now? Are there times during the year that you have greater demand than others?
It usually is a little bit seasonal. There for a few years, first few years we could see the seasons. You could calm down during the fall and things, and then the winter it would pick up a little bit. Summer would be a little busier.
Now, in the fall, do you think it would drop down because people were hunting and making their own beef?
That was part of it.
Okay.
But we have since we do a little deer processing during deer season, make jerky for people.
So you are able to make deer jerky.
We will do the deer jerky for them. We generally shut down the beef production somewhere around the 1st of November.
So there's no cross-contamination between the wild venison and the USDA inspected beef. Okay.
So that there's none of that occurring. We've been doing that for probably 20 years, so maybe a little longer. But people want their deer jerky.
Right. Oh yeah.
And people would rather have deer jerky over beef any day.
Mm-hmm. Especially if they kill the deer.
Yes. And, it just little specialty things like that we've used to, that will sort of cover when things are a little bit slow.
Have you made any other specialty meat products other than jerky?
We do pork on occasion, and it don't catch on. In all honesty, I'd rather have the pork jerky as the beef myself. And it's just a little tenderer, using a little better cut of meat, something out of the rump. We'll use pork loins when we do the pork. We've tried a little bit of everything. We've had people that coon hunted, wanted to make coon jerky. We've made some goose jerky for people over the years.
Did you? Were you in business back when the emus were big? Did anybody ever try to have emu jerky made?
We actually made a couple batches of that for some folks. They were wanting to do it commercially. I just really wasn't looking forward to doing something like that.
Right.
So that's sort of one of the deals I think that we kind of priced ourselves out of.
on purpose.
deliberately.
Yeah.
You know, we will try anything a lot of times one time.
Yeah.
We've made some that, you know, for our own personal consumption. We've actually had someone bring a bobcat that they skin out. We've made jerky out of it. It's different.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, really? I'd rather take the cat as the coon. The coon was just way too greasy.
I bet it was.
And, you know, it's one of those things, you know, trial and error. And if we won't eat it, hopefully the dog will.
Yeah. My trial and error is always mostly error. Now, let's just say hypothetical situation. Guy like me, I've been making jerky for years. I think I've got a good recipe that I like. If I came to you and said, would you make me 100 pounds of beef jerky using my recipe? Would you do that? Is there a certain amount, or do you not even fool with anything like that?
We generally won't fool with that because of, you know, you've got to have a label approval for the jerky, and then you've got to have all the ingredients listed.
Okay. Even if you're custom making it for an
if it's somebody wants it custom, yes, we will do that.
Okay.
Anything custom's not as big a deal as if they want a USDA label on it.
Okay.
We would have to use one of our current recipes.
Okay.
And or get label approval, and that's sometimes a bigger hassle than it's worth.
That's one of those things that you would gladly price yourself out of.
Exactly. You know, if somebody's willing to pay the price that you say, well, then it's time to start figuring out how quick you can get it done.
Yeah. Well, have you ever had anybody wanting a large order of custom-made beef jerky or any type of jerky?
We will do jerky on occasion under inspection for Barton's Creek.
Okay.
Which is Danny Roller's business.
Okay.
And, you know, we've done a few that they wanted us to use their beef for jerky.
Right.
And as long as it has a USDA mark of inspection on it, we can use it.
Okay.
And, you know, with that mark of inspection, it can be inspected product, and we can consider it inspected, and it can go on to the market and be sold as inspected product.
Mm-hmm.
So it don't have to be consumer to purchaser.
Mm-hmm.
Or the final consumer wouldn't have to be the one buying it. You could put it in a store,
right,
or whatever for sale.
Okay. Now, earlier we talked about when you got your beef from Sam's Club, having to trim off the fat. Is there a lot of trimming that you have to do?
Generally, it'll end up being about a third of the weight of the meat.
Now, have you got anything you can do with that commercially, or is that just make the dog fat?
Well, legally, we cannot do anything with it commercially.
Okay.
We do have a large stock of ground beef for
okay.
personal consumption.
Okay.
That, you know, it is a byproduct of it that, you know, if the grocery store trimmed it and sliced it, it's going to go into their burger.
Yep.
It's going to be ground one way or another.
Right. Yeah. Back when I used to do it, we'd wind up with so much sliced jerky meat and so much hamburger meat.
Yeah.
You know, ground beef from it.
You know, we will generally start with about 250, 300 pound of raw meat, sliced meat ready for jerky.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you wind up getting it all dried and packed, it'll amount to between 50 and 60 pound of meat, legal or usable jerky.
Right. Now, how much, how big are your dehydrator? Is your dehydrator or dehydrators? How much can you make in one batch?
One dehydrator will do about 10 pound of finished product.
Okay.
We're currently running 4 dehydrators.
Okay.
2 batches a day, one of a morning and one of an afternoon, and cooking about 20 pounds in a dehydrator a day.
Okay. So is that pretty well peak production for you? Is running 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon?
Well, we're running 4.
Oh, 4 I'm sorry, yeah. 4.
Running 4
Yeah.
morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
That's currently peak production.
Now-
We're maxed out at that.
Now, how many employees do you have? Is it just you and your family, or do you have other employees?
We have a couple of employees that help us part time.
Okay.
They help us do a lot of the packing and the loading, and a lot of the cleaning that's involved.
Now, how did you develop your market for sale of your beef jerky?
It's been word of mouth pretty much. It's people like it. They tell their friend or their friends. Just it's spread through word of mouth. Is what we've done.
Did you go to? I see it in at 4 Lane Market and Eastside Market and all these other different country markets. Did you originally go to them and say, hey,
Several of them we went to originally and got it in several, and then from there people have seen it and tell their local store, hey, we want this. Can you get this?
Okay.
Here's his label. His number's on the back. Give him a call.
Okay.
We want it in our. We want to get it from you instead of having to go over here to get it.
Right. Now, do you have a delivery guy that goes around and does this, or do you ship it to them and they set it out themselves?
I'm the delivery guy.
You're the delivery guy.
I'm the one that stocks the shelves on the stores, and I'm the one who makes it. I'm the one stocks it. I'm the one that handles the complaints when there are complaints.
You do everything.
Well,
I've never had a complaint about it. I've eaten a lot of your jerky, and I've never had a complaint. Now, do you have, like, you go by once a month, or do they call you and say, we're almost out, or how does that work?
Generally, we try to get into the stores we have about every 2 weeks.
Okay.
If the store runs low between then, we'll have some that calls, and
how far away do you have it in country stores?
when I leave here today, I'm going to Fayetteville to deliver some to a store we've got down there.
Wow. Is that the farthest one away?
That's probably the farthest one away we've got. We have one up in between Livingston and Monterey currently.
Okay.
And we've got a couple in the Crossville area. We've got several in Murfreesboro area.
Have you ever had anybody that calls in and says, hey, I got some of your jerky in Rock Island. I was there on vacation. I'm in Walla Walla, Washington. Can you send me 5 pounds of beef jerky?
We do ship it. We've got several customers from out of state. We also do a little fundraiser project with 2 or 3 schools down in Mississippi.
Oh, that's a good fundraiser.
And they've been very successful with it for the last 24 years.
Well, great.
We started doing it for one of the schools the month after we went under inspection.
Really?
And
Been
we
with
started
it ever
that
since. That's
with them, and it's a Spanish club there.
Okay.
That my sister went to college with the teacher.
Yeah.
And they were friends, and they talked about it then. And so we've been doing it with them for 24 years nearly.
Well, that's amazing. Henry, we're going to have to end. This has been such a pleasure to talk with you and find out about your beef jerky making business and how it has evolved and grown and progressed. And I'd like to encourage everybody out there, if you're around a store where you see Barron's Creek beef jerky, try a package of it or look them up on I'm sure you've got a website.
BaronsCreekJerky.com.
Considering that new Ford vehicle, now is the time. Don't delay. And at Rogers Valley Ford, save
Thanks
now
for inviting
with the
us.
Ford employee
And we'll be
pricing
back
sales event
next week
before
with
the
Hey
tariffs
Hey.
hit. Swing by and take a
Tim
test drive
Hitchcock
this
signing
week.
off.
And Rogers
We'll
has
see
a
you next
full
week.
lineup of inventory. What's your favorite?